Hello, everyone. So today we are talking about how to keep your investment strategy simple. And this topic is really important because when it comes to investing, it can be overwhelming, it can be intimidating. So much so, for some people, it causes them to have analysis paralysis and then they aren't investing because of it. So let's talk about some mindset shifts and things you can do to keep your investing strategy simple and not overwhelm yourself. So, of course, the first thing I'm going to talk about is mindset. So, whether you are new to investing or you have been investing for a long time, the one thing you have to understand when it comes to stock market investing or investing in general is you are not always going to get it right, and that's okay. So we're talking specifically about the stock market, but you could apply this to other asset classes. So you are going to pick some stocks that are going to be phenomenal. They're going to give you a nice rate of return, pay a healthy dividend. It's going to be a home run. It's going to be fantastic, right? Then you're going to have some stocks that you might have thought were going to do great and they haven't done too well. They aren't doing poorly, but you're not seeing a huge ROI or the ROI you anticipated. And that happens too. And then you have what my husband calls the dogs of the bunch, right? So you buy certain stocks and they just don't do well at all. From the time you buy them, they're just losing money. The company ends up not performing well. And it's like, you have buyer's remorse essentially. And so, regardless of which category your stock picks fall into, well, truthfully, you're going to have some that fall into all three buckets, right? And so knowing that is truly half the battle. So if you pick stocks that don't do so well or just do poorly, just know that's part of the investment journey. Not everything is going to be a home run. And so when you have those stocks that aren't doing well or are doing poorly, that's when you have to make some important decisions. You want to understand, well, why are these stocks not doing well? Is it their industry? Is it the company? Is there an opportunity to buy these stocks at a cheaper price and you believe the stocks will rebound later? So it is all an educated guess, truthfully, whether you are a fancy schmancy hedge fund manager or if you are just the average retail investor. All investing is an educated guess, right? No one knows exactly how things are going to pan out. No one has that crystal ball to know exactly what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. For every person that says this stock, let's say stock ABC is going to do well, there's someone on the other side of that saying that it's going to do poorly. And so it really comes down to using your experience and guessing. And I hate to say it that way, but that's really what it comes down to. So, but the more experience you have, the more you learn, you can make better educated guesses, right? And so this is why teaching yourself more about investing is super important. So we always talk about the investor checklist, right? And so if you're new to me in the channel, I do discuss this quite often. So an investor checklist means there are 3 to 5 metrics that you are looking for as an investor, and this stock has to meet those requirements before you decide you are going to invest in this company or index fund or mutual fund, etc. And so the checklist, okay, so I know for some people you probably already turned your brains off. You're like, oh my God, this is complicated, all this analysis, I don't want to do it. Hear me out. Okay, so the investor checklist is not something complicated. You don't need fancy charts. You don't need to do a deep analysis if you so choose. It really just comes down to checking a couple of things to see if those metrics look good to you and if it adds up to making this company worthwhile investing in. So to kind of keep things simple, you could be looking at their revenue over the last 3 to 5 years. Is it increasing? Is it decreasing? Is it flat? Maybe you care about whether this company pays dividends or not. Maybe you care about how much cash they have on their balance sheet, because cash, well, a good, healthy cash balance can sometimes indicate a company that's doing well financially. Maybe you care about the stock growth, the stock price. How much has it grown in the last 5 years or 6 months or etc.? What industry is this company in? So you see there's a kind of theme here. So again, pick 3 to 5 things that are important to you and then just do a quick search for it. Now, I personally love Yahoo Finance and know this is not sponsored by them, but hey, if they want to, reach out to me. I have found that Yahoo Finance, between their app and their website, is a very great resource, and it's user friendly, and you can find a lot of metrics all in one place, and it's not hard to get to. So you can see the stock's 52-week range, right? So that means the lowest the stock price has been in the last 52 weeks or year, and the highest the stock price has been in the last year. You can see whether this stock pays dividend or not. You can see the dividend payment history. You can easily see the stocks history. If it's an index fund, for example, you can see what companies are in the index, what industries are covered. You also have a summary you can look at to see some basic information about said company. So much great information all in one place. And so, really, the investor checklist kind of gives you an easy way to vet a company. And I always compare it to a job interview, right? So, no one just hands you a job, unless it's your family business, right? No one just is handing out jobs. Before you can secure a job, you have to go through a process, right? So they're going to look at your resume. They're going to look at your application if you have to submit one. From there, you might meet with HR for your initial screening. And after that, you'll probably do like 3 to 5 rounds of interviews with different people within the organization. So once you pass that milestone, the next steps are references, background check, maybe a credit check, and then that's when they give you the job offer, right? So this company is putting you through this vetting process before they hand you a job. So you as an investor kind of have to operate in the same way. Before you hand your money to this organization, you have to make sure they're worth it. And so this is where the investor checklist comes into play. So you're going to have those 3 to 5 things on your list. And if they check every single box, then it might be a great investment for you. Now, if they don't check every box, it could be, I'm not investing in them at all. It's a hard pass. Or it could be, I'm not investing in them now, but I'll keep it in mind for the future. Maybe they have to show you more or improve in certain areas before you're willing to invest in them. And that's a reality. Now, when we discuss investor checklists, you have to really understand that you are an investor, right? You're not just someone who has a 401k or an IRA. Like, you are an investor. And so as an investor, you have to take your money seriously and really think about who you're giving your money to. So this is where we are going to switch to the next tip in regards to how to keep your investment strategy simple. So you might have your investor checklist, but now it becomes this daunting task of finding the right thing to invest in. Do I invest in tech, retail, energy, alternative energy, artificial intelligence, manufacturing, oil, right? There's so many places you could go with this. And within these industries, there's so many companies. And so how do you know which ones to pick? Now, for many people, they will start off by just investing in companies that they're familiar with, right? They use Amazon. They know Amazon's popular. They'll invest in Amazon. They use Apple products. They really like Apple. They'll invest in Apple. And so those things make sense. You should invest in companies that you actually know and understand who they are, what they do, etc. But after a certain point, that kind of limits your scope, right? You're kind of limited on what you're investing in. So you're kind of missing other areas that could be profitable for you. And so many people don't have the time, right, to do the research, to find the companies. Then you go through your investor checklist, buy at the right price. There's a lot that goes with that. Now, if you have the time and are willing to do it, fantastic. I think most people should. But we also have to face reality, right? We all don't have enough time. We are spread really thin between our responsibilities at home, at work, trying to maintain ourselves and our health. So you're being pulled in so many directions. And so while investing is important, sometimes the struggle of making the time to really focus on it as much as you would like to. And that's a reality for a lot of people. So if that's you that I'm talking about, just know you're not alone and don't feel bad for it. But what I will say is we have to find ways to make investing important, but also meet ourselves where we are with the time that we do in fact have. And so this is where I recommend index funds and mutual funds. So I did post a short on YouTube and my other platforms a couple of days ago, but I want to talk about it in this longer format. I think it's really important. So index funds and mutual funds aren't as sexy as individual stocks, right? When you buy Apple and Amazon and well, no one wants to buy Tesla right now, but you know where I'm going with this, right? There's some big name brands that everyone's excited to invest in. They feel like they've made it, they feel important, they feel it's a great investment, right? There's all of that. But when it comes to index funds, it really keeps investing super simple because you just buy these couple of index funds and you have your hands in everything. So now it takes the pressure off of you trying to find the perfect stock and doing so much research. It just comes down to finding a few indexes or indices or mutual funds, and then that's it. Now, is it as exciting as individual stocks? Maybe not, but it can be super profitable. It's a way to invest consistently, and more importantly, it can be a great way to be well diversified. So, for example, you could invest in an index fund that matches the S&P 500. So the S&P 500 is an index here in the US that contains the 500 top companies that are publicly traded, right? And so this covers so many industries. And actually, let's go ahead and look at it together while we're here. Oh wait, I'm not sharing my screen. Hold on. Let's do that. Do I want to share my entire screen? No, I don't want to do that. Let's just share this window. Okay, fantastic. So this is Yahoo Finance, of course. And so what is happening here? Do I need to refresh? Oh, let's reload. Oh boy. Okay, we are back. I'm not sure what happened there. I didn't mean to do that. So anyhow, let's get back to the task at hand. I was trying to refresh this page, anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay, so this is an index called VOO. Let me just make sure it's actually sharing on this side. Okay, it is. Uh-oh. Okay, this is VOO. This is an index from Vanguard, and it covers the S&P 500. And so here you see the current price of it. It's pretty pricey. You can also see it is up 11.5% in the last year, which is great. But here is where I kind of want to focus on. So when you go to the holding section of this page of Yahoo Finance, it's going to show you the top 10 holdings. So the top 10 companies that make up this index. So you can see here, it just makes up, the companies listed here make up 34% of this index fund. So think of an index fund like a mini portfolio or a basket of stocks. So here you have this basket of stocks, and the top 10 companies in here are Apple, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Amazon, Meta, Berkshire Hathaway, Alphabet, Broadcom, Tesla, and Alphabet, right? So you can see that here. Now, this is what's also beautiful about this platform. It kind of shows you what industries you will be investing in if you do purchase this index fund. So as you can see, it's very well diversified. Now, it is pretty tech heavy at almost 32%, but it includes financial services, healthcare, communications, energy, utilities, real estate, etc. And so this is a great way to invest in companies that, for the most part, you know a lot of them. You may not know every single company in the S&P 500, but you will know a majority of them, right? And so that's the first great thing about this. Second great thing is it makes it easy for you to diversify your portfolio in a way that's not going to be overwhelming and intimidating to you as an investor. And so this is why I do recommend index funds for that busy professional who wants to invest but is very limited on time. Index funds, mutual funds make it super easy to invest in the market and still see a nice rate of return on your portfolio, but also keeping things super simple for you. Now, in case you're wondering the difference between an index fund and a mutual fund, there's two main differences. So the one big difference is index funds charge a much lower maintenance fee than mutual funds. Now, the reason for that is index funds are relatively passive. Once it's decided what's going to be in that mini portfolio or in that basket, nothing really changes. The only change you would see in this one, for example, so the S&P 500 has these top 500 companies listed. And so these companies have to maintain a certain requirement in order to be part of the S&P 500. Now, if any of those companies no longer meet the requirement, they will drop out and new companies will be added. So one good example is Coinbase. So Coinbase was recently added to the S&P 500, I want to say in May or June of 2025. So that's one small way that this is going to change. But overall, whatever's in this index is going to stay the same. Versus a mutual funds have higher fees because there are hedge fund managers and analysts that are constantly buying and trading in hopes of trying to make a nice rate of return for that mutual fund. But they're not doing that for free, right? So there's a cost to that. And hedge fund managers, analysts, they are paid quite well. And so that is why you will see mutual funds will have a higher fee. Now, in theory, you would think it would always outperform an index fund, right? Because you have these fancy hedge fund managers and analysts and big hedge funds that are doing all this analysis, that they would make more money than it's not usually the case, funny enough. Index funds tend to outperform mutual funds. So, and when I say they're charging fees, those fees come out of your pocket, in case you didn't know that. And so that is also why I would recommend sticking to index funds, because they charge lower fees, because ultimately those fees do come out of your pocket. So just FYI on that. And I think they show it here. So here you go. The expense ratio, it shows here that this index fund charges a fee of 0.03%. And so that means it's a really low fee. So it's quote unquote affordable. For me personally, I do not want to invest in any index fund or mutual fund that charges more than 1%. So that's my general rule of thumb. Of course, we all can do what we see fit, but bear in mind that these fees must be taken into account when you're making decisions, because those fees do come out of your portfolio. That applies whether you have a 401k, an IRA, you are paying for these fees, just FYI. So again, this is a great way to invest, keeping things simple. Now, there are other ways to invest in index funds as well. So let's say you would like to invest in the energy industry, but you're not sure what companies to pick. You could, in fact, pick an energy index. So with an energy index, it's going to have companies in the energy industry. And so this is a great way for you to invest in this industry without trying to find the perfect stock. But now you're invested, and if any of those stocks pay dividends, you will qualify for a dividend payment. That also applies for index funds as well. And so this kind of helps you put yourself in the market, again, in a way that's not going to overcomplicate things. It won't be overwhelming, and you can feel more comfortable with doing minimal research. So I recommend anyone who wants to invest, if you're just starting out, besides sticking with companies that you already know, because again, that's a great place to start. But if you're trying to expand and you don't know where to expand to, index funds and mutual funds are a fantastic way to do that. Let me see if I can find a good example to show you guys here quickly. Just give me a second. I should be able to find one. Oh, maybe not. Let's see. Let's see if this is a good one. I just Googled something really quickly. I'm not promoting this by any means. It's just an example that I think can kind of show you what I'm trying to say when it comes to index funds and things like that. So let's look at the holdings of this energy sector index fund. This is a great example, actually. So 73% of the holdings are these top companies here. And some of these you might be very familiar with: Chevron, ConocoPhillips, Marathon Petroleum. And so, again, this puts you in multiple companies in the energy industry, and now you're covered. And you can see here it's 100% energy, so you're not in any other industries with this index, which was the purpose, right, of looking at this. And I believe with, let me see if I can find it. That's not what I wanted. Usually Yahoo Finance has a nice like summary that kind of tells you certain things, but I don't see that here. Oh, wait, hold on. Maybe it's here. So this just gives you a little summary of what this index fund is about. So this includes companies that are in the oil, gas, and consumable. Oh boy, hold on. Where did it go? I was just looking at a blurb they had there, and now I lost it. Okay, what I was looking at is gone now. But anyway, you can see here, it's just telling you what's in this index fund. Again, it covers, oh yeah, here we go. It covers companies from the following industries: oil, gas, and consumable fuels, and energy, equipment, and services. So this covers a broad category of companies in the energy industry, which is great. So it's an easy way for you to get into this industry without, again, trying to find the perfect company. So, and this can cover any industry you could possibly think of: telecommunications, healthcare, etc. So if you are trying to get in certain industries because you are trying to diversify your portfolio, seriously consider index funds, because this will be, again, a great way for you to get your feet wet without overcomplicating things. And then over time, you just watch your portfolio's performance, and then you decide which ones you invest more into, you divest out of, or just keep things status quo. So let me go ahead and stop. Oh, not end. I want to stop sharing. Okay. So hopefully you found this super helpful. If you do have any questions, feel free to put them in the comment section down below. Now, I do have my ebook, Stock Market Investing for Beginners. This is a great ebook to help anyone who is trying to get started with investing and not really sure where to start. And so in this ebook, I do break down investing in a way that's very simple and very easy to understand. In this ebook, I also talk about the investor checklist and give you examples of how to create one, so you can have that to help you going forward in your investing journey. So with that being said, have a great day, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.